Hi everyone, it's Sienna. Welcome back to today's video. Please bear with me, the sun is going down, or it's not going down, but it's snowing today, so the lighting isn't as great, so I'm just gonna have to work with it. Lately I realized that it's kind of a big trend to like come to Korea and experience all the great things here. And you know, with the rise of K-waves and stuff like that, there's a lot of people that kind of romanticize what living in Korea is really like. And then I see a lot of videos that are these foreigners coming into Korea and making videos about how Koreans are racist, or there's really thirsty guys here and they end up miserable actually living here. So I just wanted to make this video to talk about what living in Korea is actually like. In today's video, I just wanted to touch on a couple topics that are kind of triggering, and also I want to touch on them not in a way of saying like I hate Korea, don't come here, but just to have realistic goals of what your life might be like when you actually do end up moving here. Just hope that it would just be like a friend that is actually living here giving you advice to other people that might be wondering what it's like to live there. So the first subject that I want to talk about is racism. So if you are not white people, you don't have a problem. You guys are going to find a great job here no matter what. If you are a white, blue-eyed person, you probably will have no trouble coming here and adjusting. I mean, there are still some like rude comments that you might face, but nothing quite compared to what other people of color might face. That is, obviously including Southeast Asians. They kind of have a feeling, I'm talking about Koreans, that they kind of have a feeling that you don't speak any Korean, so that's why they would just say really rude stuff like right in front of you. My Filipino friends who would just daily interactions that they would have, like a cab driver calling her but pretty for a Filipino. So stuff like that, like there's always an underlying like racism undertone there, which is really awful, and I feel like it's still a work in progress. Like Korea, if you don't know the whole history of Korea, it's just we've developed really quick, and we've globalized a lot of our culture, so it attracts a lot of overseas like tourists and just people that want to come here and buy the makeup products or go to the places that the Korea stars promote. But I think our culture in a way just can't keep up with how we are attracting all these people so fast. In schools, we don't talk about racism, we don't talk about colorism, anything like that, and it's just, if you make a racist joke, there's no one to call you out on it. Everyone just laughs. It's in a lot of comedy shows, and like, I'm not blaming Koreans per se, it's just there needs to be more development in educating ourselves with what is hurtful, what is racist, and what is, not okay to do or say. So racism, you are going to experience racism. I think just anywhere you go. There's also like really nice people here, so don't like be scared that everyone's gonna be racist. There's also really nice people here that are going to be so intrigued that you decided to come to Korea and you're exploring. Like, we don't really have culture appropriation in our culture, if that makes sense. So we would culture appropriate all these other countries without thinking that it's culture appreciation. The same way that you can wear hanboks, like the Korean traditional dresses, for Halloween, you can do that. I guess for the majority of Koreans, even for me as well, like I don't mind when other people wear like Korean traditional dresses, because it's like you're appreciating our culture. Like we take pride in that instead of saying that it's appropriation. It's always good if you speak a little bit of Korean. They obviously, no one would kind of expect you to, but it is always interesting, like you're coming here and at least show like, oh, you're trying to kind of pick up on the language, but we don't expect you to learn it or speak it fluently, of course, but people are just going to think that it's really great. And also, this is kind of like a weird thing, but this only like applies to people that are working in business environments, I've seen that a lot of people are scared, or like they stress over the Korean culture, right? Like the business environment of it. Like, am I supposed to shake hands? Am I supposed to like bow? Whatever. I guess like my advice is don't stress out about that too much. I've worked in business environments. I've talked to a lot of people that came from America or Australia or wherever, and they always like ask me like, hey, is it okay if I do this? Is it okay if I do that? No one's really gonna care. Like, they know that you're different. They know that you're not Korean, so they wouldn't really expect you to do the same things that Koreans would. But it is always respectful to, you know, bow and just kind of know like the basic etiquettes before jumping into the business world, because if anything, you might be surprised of the things that goes on. Another topic is freaking, I don't want to say the word, but the sexual assault culture that goes on here in Korea. It is freaking insane. Like, it is insane. I didn't really think that it was insane until I started living in another country and experiencing their culture, their night culture. Korea is known for the night culture that we have. You know, there's all these great clubs that you can get into for free if you're a girl. Guys are always looking into talking to you, obviously trying to get in your pants, but talking to you, buying you food, buying you drinks. And a lot of people just kind of like naively get into it for girls. It's free drinks, it's free food, of course. But there's always going to be like, they want something from you. But it's like, I know that's like that in every single country, but that you really need to take care of yourself when you go out, because there's no one that's, I don't want to say it, but there's really no one that's going to help you, because in our culture, you know, no one really checks up on another. You are basically strangers, you know. When you are out in public, no one's really going to be like, hey, how are you? No one really makes small talk here. So, you know, everyone just minds their own business, and then if they see something shady going on, they also mind their business because they just don't want to get into it. So you really need to take care of yourselves, or you really need to go out with people that are going to take good care of you. I was really shocked when I went out for the first time when I was like 18, I guess, when I first turned legal, which was 18, 19. I don't go out anymore. But when I went out, I was so shocked because people in Korea are very conservative, or I thought they were really conservative. They don't really talk about sexual things, I guess. But then when you go out, it's like after 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. when you go out to all these places, they are like, it's like all of that they've been like suppressing and hiding just kind of blows up, and it's just insane. Like, I went out in Canada a couple times with friends. I've never been touched. I've never been groped. That has never happened to me. In Korea, that happens every time I go out. So that is just something to be aware of. I don't want to bash all guys out there. Obviously, that's not what I'm trying to do. But it's not okay for you to do that. And there's just, I don't know, I get like heated every time I talk about it because there's just so much shit that goes on. And then I went out, not intentionally, but I was kind of dragged out with friends. I didn't intend to go out, but it was like a year ago, I guess, when I first came here, and there was a little, I don't want to say little, but she was like 18, so that's like little to me. She came with us, and she was just so naive, and she was just clueless of what was going on, and I was just so shocked because there's guys that are going to there's a huge lineup of guys that are trying to take advantage of you every time you go out. So I don't want to scare anyone, but especially if you are a foreigner, there's a lot of guys that just want to hook up with a foreigner, just to say that they've hooked up with a foreigner, and they think that they have a stereotype that in, you know, the Western cultures you are more sexually active or more not, what's the opposite of conservative? So when you're in high school, you start talking about these things, but then I'm like getting it. I think that the majority of guys in Korea, they don't really know that every single individual is different when it comes to how active they are. In that sense, they just think that, oh, if you are from overseas or if you're foreign, you're just more open to it, which is not true. If anything, I feel like they're more conservative. In Canada, like if I was going out, if I was like a little bit like tripping over a little bit, there was always people to check up on me and say, like, all these strangers be like, hey, are you okay? Which was so freaking nice because I've never had that here. Like, I've had guys trying to pull me, like forcefully pull me into their cars late at night when I was trying to go home, and everyone just looked away. They're like, we didn't see anything. She'll figure it out. So that was really, really nice. But I've just had so many experiences here that I just really want to warn everyone. They really need to be careful. I advise on not going out, honestly. But if you are gonna go out, then just go out with a big group of friends that are going to check up on you no matter what. Careful of that. There's always people that are going to roofie you. I don't want to say it, but you know, they play all these like sick drinking games. It's not just like, never have I ever, put a finger down. They're just always trying to take advantage of girls, and it's so gross. And I just would never stop speaking out about this because it's a huge problem that does need to change here. Just because you're drunk, there's still a couple laws here that apply that can exempt you from getting punished or a lawsuit happening. If you say, oh, I was drunk, then they're like, oh, then you weren't really yourself, huh? So that is also really messed up. No one talks about this, but in schools, in subways, in public bathrooms, in spas, there are secret cameras, right? There's freaking secret cameras that are installed by these pervs, and they are spying on these people. I don't know, it's so sick. Especially like in the subways, if you take a subway here, there's all these like ads that are saying, oh, if you take a picture, that is, you know, punishable by law. So if it's there in the subway as an ad, then you know that it's actually happening too much, right? On an everyday basis. So girls are always wearing like little shorts underneath their skirts, especially if you are taking the subway or if you're taking public transportation, because there's guys that are going to like sneak their phones under you and try to take a picture, which is so freaking gross. Yeah, so there's a lot of that. Speaking of night culture as well, let's go back into it. There's guys that are, I don't know, I've noticed, you know, it's like a whole like fantasy when you come to Korea, you want to party all night, take the first train home. I'm telling you, when the clubs start closing, which is I guess like around 5-6 a.m., that's when the guys really get desperate. I've had incidences where, I've had like 3 incidences where it was just me and my friend, we're waiting for the train or the bus to go back home, and these guys would literally just like hold you up and try to like put you in their cars. And the taxi drivers are just like sitting there like, okay, another round. You know, no one speaks up. No one's like, hey, leave that girl. No one does that, which is so freaking sad. I've literally had to like kick someone, and these are normal ass people. These are like normal people that, you know, in the daylight they would just look like a very respectful Korean guy. Like, I just want to keep saying that it's not all guys, but it's just because of the whole culture that is rooted in the system, that if you are a guy, you're gonna have 1 or 2 people in your friend group or just someone that you know that do this, that do roofie girls, that do take advantage of these girls, underage or not. They don't care about that. And no one, I guess we need more people. We need more people to speak out against it and say this is going on and it is wrong, because there's not a lot of people doing that. It's kind of being brushed under the rug, and I hate that. That's why I hate it when people like fantasize over these Korean guys and they're like, oh my god, he's Korean. No, because, you know, just because they're Korean doesn't mean that they're freaking perfect. Be, you know, very mindful of that not every single guy out here is trying to make you a main character of, you know, whatever drama that you're fantasizing about. I guess you can tell by now that the people that you do need to be careful about are people in the industry, or just people that are also in industry, but they're on a streaming platform, something related to streaming platforms. When I was underage, and I feel like when I was underage, I was in a lot more dangerous situations than I am now, simply because I was just so naive, and I just thought like, wow, that's an amazing opportunity. Because when you're young, you want to seize every moment. You want to take every opportunity. You never know when you're going to meet the right person. That's why you meet everyone. And I had just had more awful experiences more when I was younger than I am now. And of those experiences is when I was like going out, or I had IG DMs of these quite famous streamers, and they would say, I'm going to pay you X amount of money. It actually happened very recently and I just blocked it, but when I was younger, I did not block it, and I entertained it, and they would say, I'm going to pay you $100 for an hour, and all I want to do is have you on my streaming platform, and we're just going to drink and just talk. I went with my friend, and they were just pouring drinks over drinks, and they're just talking, questioning like, what is your type, what is, you know, just making like talk, I guess. It's a live streaming platform, so they would have people constantly like ask questions or comment, and the person is just kind of like asking us and just entertaining the people at the same time. So they were kind of the host, I guess, and comfortable, because on those streaming platforms people say the most rudest things, and they're kind of hiding behind a face, so you don't really like, it's kind of weird for you to call them out. So we're just laughing it off, and then they were pouring a lot of drinks, and then I just said at one point in the middle of the whole thing, I think I was just like, I'm underage, and then we left. Sorry, I wasn't underage, but I was like just legal. But that was like a weird experience. And then I've actually had, after that, I've had people, not my friends, but my friends who would say that they actually went to these opportunities, and they were roofied and they were assaulted later that night, and they just couldn't get anything done because, like I said, the Korean legislation sucks that if you are drunk, you are just kind of let go, right? It's awful. It happens. It does happen, unfortunately, anywhere in the world. And then they have other people to back them up, saying like, it's not, everyone does it, it's fine. But it's not fine, is what I'm trying to say. And then the reason why I personally don't really go out anymore is that when I like speak up about this and I say that is not okay, people just brush it under the rug. And it's not like we need to get that guy, we need to tell them that that was fucked up, but they're just kind of like, yeah, it's wrong, but like everyone does it, so when do you want to go out next? And I hate that. That turned into a rant really quick, but that happens. And another thing that no one really talks about is the body shaming here. And obviously you see all these K-pop stars that have the perfect body, they're so skinny, but it's actually so sad, because I've actually seen some people that say that they are the reasons why their eating disorders kind of came back, which is so awful, because, you know, in the Western world, you're all about like, I mean, not just in the Western world, but in the whole world in general, you're just more like accepting the curves and all of that. But in Korea, being skinny is still the top of the thing. That is everyone's goal, is just to be skinny. And it's just so sad, because you see all these like IG or like YouTubers, and people always ask them like, how much do you weigh? And they answer, and usually it's like not healthy, it's borderline not healthy, but they promote it. And then, you know, when people ask like, how do you maintain your weight, they say, I eat an apple and a sweet potato and I starve for 3 days. And it's like, that is not okay. Like, but it's just so normalized, and I'm ashamed to say that I was doing it for a while, especially if you are in Korea. Like, most clothes are only one size. People that are kind of bigger, they still buy those free size clothes, because they're like, oh, I want to wear this when I lose weight. And that is always in the back of my mind, the back of their heads, that I can't really wear like pretty things right now because I'm, you know, not the size that everyone else seems to be. Those things that I touched on, I think those are all of it. I could expand a little bit more on each of the subjects, but I just don't want to go too overboard. I'm making this video not to scare you into not coming to Korea, or, you know, saying like I hate Korean men. I'm making this video to like boycott, you know, our country in general. I love living here. I definitely think that for a lot of people, you can come here and you can have the best years of your life. And I've had many friends that come here and then they end up just wanting to live here, which is so great. And there's a lot of great things that do happen. There's a lot of great people that you are going to meet, but I just don't want you to come not knowing of anything else, because people in the media don't really talk about those things. We're like a group culture, so I actually heard, just a little side note, that the main reason why the coronavirus isn't spreading as much in Korea is because not that we're like terrified of the disease, but more so that we're terrified of what others might think when we get it. So when I go to work, right, and when I get it, then I have to go into quarantine, but so does everyone else. Everyone else needs to be tested. Everyone else needs to be, you know, everyone else is going to be worrying that they are going to get it and spread it to their families or their loved ones. So you know, we just don't want to be the person that is like, shit, I'm so sorry, I got the coronavirus. That's the main reason why it's not spreading. And that word, we have a word for that, it's called 눈치, and that's just kind of like, you're always being mindful of other people, what other people might think or say around you. I personally struggled a lot with that. You just need to learn more about the culture as well, so that I just don't want you to come and be like, shit, like, why is this happening to me? Experience like a bad incident and suddenly it's like you want to go back, you hate Korea. Like, I just want you to know that this happens, and I hope that you can come and speak up for all the people that have been hurt or victimized by these situations. Create more of awareness around it, even if it's just you coming here and then making friends and then telling them like, I don't think what that guy did was okay, or I don't agree what that person said about this, like that is not okay. And then you're just kind of like opening the minds of the people in your atmosphere. That's how change happens. It doesn't happen by, you know, this whole big phenomenon, unlike the coronavirus, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, especially if it's something that is so deep rooted in the culture. It needs to happen gradually. You need to have more people standing with you and spreading the message, and that is just what I'm trying to do, if that makes sense. Like, I just want you to come with a thick skin. And same thing for me, when I go overseas, I go there with a thick skin. I know that I'm probably gonna get some racist moments here and there. I know that, you know, I always need to be careful. The world is not peaches and rainbows, and I need you to understand the same thing about Korea, that it's not just peaches and rainbows. But you'll be okay. You'll have fun. You'll survive. You'll be fine. If you have any other questions, if you have, you know, if you just want to tell me anything, if you feel like you came to Korea with all these great expectations and none of them are happening, or you're just going through a really rough patch right now, I want you to know that you're not alone, and you can reach out to me anytime, literally anytime. Like, I'm not approachable, if that makes sense. I am approachable. You can DM me on Instagram. You can shoot me a message. You can comment below, and I just love talking to people. So I would love to know more about you and your experience. I'd love to hear about your experience, and if you have any questions, again, let me know and I will do my best to answer them all. But I hope that you found this video very helpful. I hope that you learned a couple new things. I'm sorry if maybe in some parts I was talking too fast, because there's a lot of things that I wanted to touch on. I'm not sure if I touched on everything, but I can always make a part 2 if I haven't, or if I feel like I missed out on something. Like this video, give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. That really helps me a lot, and I'll be back next time. Bye.